Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. What a special treat. You know him from the light here in the mornings. His name is Jim Bernai. And as we look forward to celebrating 100 years of radio in November, how could we not talk to those who work right here, who've been a part of that history here at the light and elsewhere? And we're doing some of that today. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Susie. Thank you for taking this call. How are you?
Oh, golly, really good. Thank you, and hope you are too. Jim, let's go back to the very, very beginning of your career. What on earth interested you in radio in the first place?
I'm going to try to make it short as quickly as I can. I started out working for the state of Ohio. I had one of those, I was a bean counter. I would go at an intersection in every state in Ohio and sit at an intersection and count cars manually on a little board. Anyway, I fell asleep, and one night, and the superintendent came out and says, "Bernai, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm sorry, I fell asleep." He goes, "You know better than that." So anyway, next thing I knew, I was out. But that's okay. God had other plans for me.
If I can interrupt right there, why did they need cars counted? What was that for?
Well, to see how many people use the roads. That would take it and fix it. Okay, so many people are using these roads, we're going to fix them. That's what they would do.
And so they actually had a person counting them to say.
Yes, that's what they did. You
Wow.
came from the east, west, north, and south, and you'd have these calculators. You just hit the button, and it would do that.
I don't know how you would not fall asleep at a job like that.
That's for sure. So I went back home, and a friend of mine came to me one day and says, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to go to Chicago, and I want to get into radio. Why don't you go with me?" So I don't know. Said, "Come on, let's go together." I said, "Okay." So we went to the Midwestern Broadcasting School of Chicago, the 6-month wonder. That's all it took, 6 months. Lived at the Duncan YMCA in downtown Chicago.
Wow.
It was a treat. And we get home, and I can't find anything, and he gets a job, and he calls me one day, says, "You still want to work in radio?" I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Well, how soon can you get out to Brainerd, Minnesota?"
Wow.
I said, "Are you serious?" He said, "Yeah." So I flew out to Brainerd, Minnesota. I worked, and I got there, and it was really cold and snow. And the guy lived above the radio station. "We're going to live on top of the radio station so they won't charge us rent." I said, "Okay."
Oh, my goodness. You could
When
do
I
that?
start?
Oh, my goodness.
He said, I said, "When do I start?" He goes, "Well," he says, "I'm working on it." I go, "What?" So anyway, I end up working part-time, and I'm saying, "What am I doing here?" So I only lasted about a month. I just only working one day a week, and it was right next to Brainerd University, Brainerd College in Brainerd, Minnesota, and I said, "I can't do this. I got to get back home." So I went back home, and one day I just went out to BTC, and I talked to Jim Natoli. It was because his father and my grandfather both came from Italy together.
Oh, my. And they knew each other? They were friends?
They knew each other, and they would come and see each other. And anyway, so I started working there, and that only started out, and everything was okay. You know, I became the local DJ, and I was on the air, and it was great. And Jim gave me my first job.
Yeah. Tell me about those first days, because WBTC, we talked about when that got started more than 50 years ago.
Right.
So when you were getting in kind of as a young buck, what were those first days like? What was it like being a DJ on a radio station?
It was fun. People would call me up and say, play me a song, and they were very, very nice to me, and it was a lot of fun. And I started playing music at the local youth center, and that's where I met Betty. And
neat.
So I would
Betty, your wife?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I was working there. I was working 6 days a week, and then a job opportunity came to work in Coshocton. I felt torn. I said, I don't know if I can do this. this or not. So I really don't want to leave Jim in a bad way. And I told him. He says, well, he said, okay, if that's what you want to do. I says, well, I really want to advance a little bit. I said, I appreciate what you've done for me. So I went to work in Coshocton and stayed there for a while, and then something didn't seem right. So I called Jim up. He said, yeah, you can come back.
Oh, nice.
That's what I did. I came back, and I stayed there, until 1969. And then I moved to Lima, and then from Lima I moved to Lima, and Betty and I got married, and then we got a house in Lima, and I worked there at WCIT Radio in Lima. I was there for about 4 years. 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had a chance to go to Toledo, so I went to Toledo, and I worked nights. I worked from 7 to 10, or 6 to 10, and we moved there right during the building contractor strike. You couldn't find any place to live, so I lived in a little town called Gibsonburg, and I stayed in WTTO in Toledo for 4 years.
How was that? I think somebody who's not worked in radio would really be surprised at some of the crazy hours a person keeps. So how was it for you to change to a 7 to 10 kind of a work? That would be tough, I think, on a young marriage.
Yeah, I'd get home about 11 o'clock.
Oh, my.
So then I was there for a while, and then they sold the station, and there I was, and I said, oh, okay. So the next day, I made some guy call me and say, hey, the consultant you worked with in Toledo, he's in Youngstown. Give him a call. So I called Mike Joseph, and he goes, where are you? I said, well, I'm in Toledo. I says, but I don't have a job. He says, well, let me call you right back. 10 minutes later, call back. He says, how soon can you get here to Youngstown? I said,
wow.
Well, I said, we just Betty just gave birth to our daughter, Angela, and she's about 3 weeks old. He says, well, can you make it? And I looked at Betty. She went, yes. So we drove over to Youngstown.
Wow.
And got there and worked for WFMJ Radio and TV. Went in, talked to he introduced me to the manager, and he says, Mike says, you work for him. That's good enough for me. He says, but I have to call the owner. Well, the radio station to this day and the TV station is owned by the Youngstown Vindicator, the newspaper.
Sure.
So he had to go speak to the owner, and he says, call me tomorrow. He said, you going to stay in town? No, we went back home to my hometown of Denison. Next day I get a call from Mr. Stanley. He says, well, when do you want to start? Whenever you want. He said, okay, you can start, I think, sometime in December. That's when it was.
My goodness.
So we drove to Youngstown, and we're looking for a place. We went to the suburbs of Poland, and we couldn't find any place. And it was like going on 8:30 at night. And we had in the newspaper, it said Austintown. I said, well, look, there's a house for rent. Betty said, let's call. So I called, and I told the woman, I says, I'm going to work at WFMJ Radio and TV. She says, oh, where are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to be on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Says, where are you? I said, I'm someplace on Route 11 heading north. She says, well, get off at the Austintown exit and told me what to do. I went there, showed us the place. We gave a down payment.
Wow.
And went back to Toledo, got our stuff, moved, and I started working radio there. And then the years I was in radio was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pretty quiet guy, and
but
anyway,
put you in front of a microphone, and yes,
the crazy. I'm walked out of the control room because we were doing the news. I had a 10-minute break,
and
I used the name Jim Martin. Jim Martin, please come to my office. I'm going, oh, my goodness. So I went down. I said, yeah. He said, come on in, sit down. I said, okay. He said, no. He said, no, I'm not doing that. He said, you got a suit at home? I said, yeah.
Oh.
Go home, change your suit, come back. You're going to do the movie today.
You're now on TV.
I said, I've never been. He says, look at the camera. It's like a microphone. You got the engineers. You'll have fun.
Yeah. Did you? Did you have fun?
Yeah, I come home. I said, Betty, I'm going to be on TV today. She just stop it. I said, I'm serious. So I went in. We did a movie called Dialing for Dollars. It was you'd have a wheel, you'd spin it and put, say, 5 down. You'd get a phone slip from the phone book, and you count 5 down. You'd say, I'm going to call, and make sure you tell me what the amount. If the amount was like $65, you had to know it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that, and I really enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun. And we did it like like a Goulardi type. But I mean, we joked around a lot.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
guys threw pies in my face when I was in the air. They would pull my pant leg, and I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Yes.
And the notoriety was nice, but that came to an end as the station was sold.
Of course.
So then we went to East Liverpool.
Can I stop you before we go to East Liverpool?
Yeah.
There's a couple of things there that I need to follow up on. A lot of people would say, why do people have a radio name? For you to say, I went by Jim Martin, why was that? That's very common.
That's because when I was in Toledo, he says, your name's Jim Bernai. I said, right. He goes, I don't like it. I said, well, there's nothing wrong with it. He goes, wait a minute. Picked up the phone book, put his finger on there. He goes, you're Jim Martin.
Oh, isn't that funny? Because he didn't like your last name?
No, he just says, he says, it has a better ring to it. I said, okay.
So funny.
So,
and before we go on to East Liverpool, I'm curious as to this. It seems like you were never out of work for very long. That you would go from one to the next. Was that typical of the era that you were doing, or was that incredible grace of God?
Only through the grace of God.
Wow.
And,
that was such favor.
Youngstown was really when we came into our own. I mean, that's when, get off track for a second, Betty and I would go to a luncheon. It was called the Full Gospel Businessmen's Luncheon.
Yes, love
and
it.
We went to it, and one night we went, they had a bunch of guys, husbands and wives went, and they had this priest from New York City, Father Orsini. I'll never forget him. He stood up, talked, and he went, does anyone in this room want to receive Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior? I looked at Betty, and she looked at me, and I said, oh, yeah. So we went down, we accepted the Lord.
Together.
And, yep.
Oh,
together.
That's beautiful.
So I guess we look at it this way. The best thing that happened, first we accepted the Lord as Jesus, and then I married Betty, and we're trying to leave a legacy with our 3 adult children and our 10 grandchildren.
Yes. Well, and you are.
So anyway, I mean, it's just God took everything. It was like he had this all planned out.
Yes.
And I go to East Liverpool, and that was really a fun place to work. And I was on the air. I did a program called Swap Shop, where people would call in and say, I have a car I want to sell. I have this I want to sell. And I'm saying, what am I doing this for? But you know what?
That was a service. That was a public service.
Those people had so much love. It was unbelievable.
Neat.
I thought, you know what? I'm going to have some fun with this. So I start nicknaming everybody. The guy would say, hi, Swap Shop, you're on the air. And he goes, Jim? I said, yes. This is the old farmer. I said, oh, okay, old farmer, how are you?
Oh, neat. Oh, fun.
And we had this one woman who was the Swap Shop queen. I'll never forget her name, Marlene. If I made a mistake, she would call me and say, Jim, call the number 4. You had the wrong number, and they had the wrong item. This is what she would take write everything down. But, you know, she was nice.
Mm-hmm.
At times I get on the air, and I would say, you know, I need a flagpole, or I need something. And one day that happened. It backfired on me. I get off the air, I'm walking down the hall, the receptionist, she says, what did you say on the air? I said, nothing. She said, well, there's a guy here who wants to see you. I walked out. I said, hi. He goes, Jim. I said, yes. He goes, this is the old farmer again. I said, hello, Mr. Old Farmer. I got your flagpole. It's in the truck. He said, I don't have a car. Where do you live? Austintown. Well, let's go. I said, well, wait a minute. What are you talking about? He says, come on. We're going to your house. I got the cement, got the shovel. Everything's in the truck. We're going up. We're going to put it up, dig a hole, and take care of it.
Oh, that's too fun.
I said, okay.
Yeah, here we go.
Those are the kind of people. And then I got to meet some pastors who were there, and it was just a fun place. The people there, it was Appalachia, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it was. But these people had so much love.
Mm-hmm.
You treated them with respect. They would in turn treat you just as good.
You made friends. You made some true friends.
And, there was, well, to this day, once in a while, some people will call me and say, when you coming back? I said, no, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen because the station is on the air, but they're like simulcasting. And some great memories. And then...
Well, this actually is a good time to put a pin in this, take a pause. I'm looking at the clock. I knew this was going to fly by. Okay. We do need to take a short break. We're talking with Jim Bernai, talking about radio history and his history in radio. We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community. Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas walking down memory lane with Jim Bernai. We're talking about radio history because the 100th anniversary of commercial radio is going to be taking place in November. And so we wanted to talk to some folks who've been in this and have had kind of a neat way of touching our lives throughout these years through this medium of radio. And Jim Bernai certainly is one of those folks. So we left you in East Liverpool, I believe, with some awesome, wonderful new friends that you made there.
It really was. So I was there, and then one day they sold it to a company, and one guy back, he says, we need to see you. And I went, oh, well, here it comes. And I went, and he says, we're sorry, but we're going to let you go because it's nothing against you. We're just we're going to move the station. We're just going to do something different with the AM because it's not working. And I said, okay. Well, in the meantime, I get home. Betty says, I got a call from one of the salespeople, and they said, they let Jim go. I said, oh. She says, you okay? I said, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was, I think, I can't remember the date. But 2 days later, I get a phone call, and his name is Ron. He was the general manager. He says, you want to come back and work? I said, what?
Wow.
I said, what are you talking? I said, well, yeah, but he says, we had a little mix-up. He says, what happened was something happened, but, excuse me, we want you to come back.
Wow.
Said, okay. So I went back. I was like another 4 years. And this time when they did sell it, it was legit. And so I was home here one day. I was getting unemployment, and I just happened to come across, the light. I just sent a tape up.
Mm-hmm.
Got a call from Gary Meeks. And he said, you want to come up? I said, yes. So I went up, talked to him, and he says, well, he's only got his part-time. I said, well, that's all right. I'll take it. He said, you sure? I said, yeah. I said, I don't mind. I really want to stay active. Okay.
And you didn't mind that drive?
No. So after he said, okay, let me get back to you, the next day, Gary says, quote, why didn't you tell me you knew Jim Natoli? I said, yeah, I knew him. He said, he goes, I wonder where Jim Bernai was. I didn't know where he was. He goes, yeah. He said, if he wants to work part-time, yeah. Give him, yes, that's okay with me. I know his whole family. Don't worry about it. He's all right. Well, then you know what else happened after that.
Oh, my goodness. And you have been doing mornings here for how many years now?
12 years.
Whoa. Boy, has that time flown for you as it has?
It has.
My goodness. All right. And for people to understand the kind of energy it takes to do a morning show, talk to me about what time you get up in the morning.
My day starts at 2:30
a.m.
a.m. I get dressed and I do my morning devotions, have my breakfast, and I leave around about 3:15 and get to the studios, and then I start preparing, getting the weather, whatever has to be done. And if it's a bad day, if it's going to snow, I would usually leave the night before. Eddie would come with me, and but there are other times I would leave early. And but I enjoy what I do.
You'd have to love it.
I really do.
Not everything would get people to get up at 2:30 in the morning. And that's what I notice about people who love doing radio. They love doing radio. This is a calling for you, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Well, it became a calling, but it really became more when I moved to the light. Because I when I accepted the Lord, I mean, I got to do things in East Liverpool. As a matter of fact, there was a pastor there who came to me one day, and he would do a half-hour show, and he said, "Would you mind sitting in here with me while I do this show?" I said, "Yeah, sure." After he got done, he says, "I notice you always say, have a great day." And he goes, "I'm going to give you a little saying I want you to say, and I want you to remember it." I said, "Okay." He says, so I just start saying, "I love you, the Lord loves you, and you make the Lord your life." I said, "Whoa, Gary, can I say that from you?" He goes, "I want you to say it."
Wow.
You're the pastor.
Nice.
So I said, "Okay." So I stuck with that for every time when I was working at Walmart, everything after I was off the air, that was the first thing I would say after I get off. "I love you, the Lord loves you, you make the Lord your life." So then when I came to, I kept saying, "Lord, I'm ready. I want to work at a Christian station. I'm ready, Lord." Well, the Lord wasn't ready for me yet until a while. When it happened, it was all Him.
Yep. It was just prepared, just the groundwork laid, ready for you to step right in and take over the reins. It was just perfect, His perfect timing once again. And don't you sense, again, His incredible grace as far as His hand on your life? It just seemed like one position after another. People don't get calls saying, "How soon can you start?" And particularly in an industry that is constantly changing. Let's talk about that change right now. Look at when you started and the service that radio provides today. What changes do you see in that?
Well, I think today they want it short and sweet. You want the weather, but more than anything, everything's got to be short. But I feel since the light, it is the light, and we as members as the staff there, we have to encourage our listeners no matter what. We have to be there for them. I mean, we don't know who they are, but we have to say words that God lays upon our heart, and that's my passion. I just want to encourage people as much as I can. There was 3 years ago, I had a listener call, and I'll never forget this. There was a problem, and she had a special needs child, and I don't know her name. I can't remember her. She didn't tell me her name. She just says, "I need prayer," and I did. She gave me Proverbs 31:8, and this really stuck out. And I think it's so important for not only it's for everyone. It says, "Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, judge righteously, defend the rights of the poor and needy." So that is saying to me that whether you have a disability child, whether you are going through a rough time, maybe you're a single parent, you're down and out, and nobody's talking to you, nobody's speaking for you, this is what we're supposed to do. Open our mouth for the mute. Be a witness for them and say, "We're here to pray with you. No matter what, we can't fix it, we can't walk beside you, but we can pray for you."
How does that make what you do different in the morning than what something else someone might turn into? We have a lot of options of what to listen to in the morning. How does what you do, how does that differ? That you said the word encourager. How is that different than other selections we might make in the morning?
Because I feel in my heart, because every morning I walk in that studio, and please don't misunderstand me, at the first thing out of my mouth, "Lord, how can I serve you today? Please give me your words to say to encourage someone. If it's one person, fine, as long as I encourage somebody. But give me your words to say." And my biggest critic is Betty, my wife, because I run things by her. And I can be honest with you and say, "I'm going to do this." She looks at me. She's the one that has the common sense. I don't. She'll say, "Don't say that." She says, "I don't." She says, "If people want to hear," she calls it fluff talk. She says, "You think I want to hear somebody say, 'Well, I woke up this morning and I was decide what side shall I butter my toast on, or shall I read the paper before I?'" She says, "I don't want to hear that. She says, I want to hear what the music. I want to hear what if God's telling you to give a scripture verse and then you do it."
Yeah,
that's what you that is what you've been called for.
That's good advice from the wife.
Yes.
That's
yes, it is.
very good.
Yes.
Let's compare radio with TV a little bit. Which one did you enjoy more?
You know what, Susie? TV was a lot of fun, and I really had a good time, which was sometimes our kids would suffer by it. Let me explain why. Hey, is that your dad? Why is he called Jim Martin? You're Bernai. Why? Was your mom divorced?
Yeah.
No. And then Nicholas, or rather Chris and Angela at the time had to sit, and they would say, Dad, please, next time this happens, take over. We're tired of people, I said, I'm sorry. That's the way it was. And, But it was a lot of fun. TV was fun, but I don't know how to say that.
TV makes you a public figure. Radio,
Right.
There's still a little bit of anonymity. Not so much now with the internet. Everybody's got a website. Everybody knows what everybody looks like. But there used to be a little bit of anonymity with radio.
Right. I'd walk into a grocery store. Hey, when are you going to call me? I said, I'm sorry. What's your name?
Yes.
Oh, well, I know. You called me one time. I missed it by $2. You better call me next time. I said, okay. People would say, well, one guy just said, my goodness, you're short and fat. You know that? I said, thank you.
How rude. Did you ever hear, you don't sound like you don't look the way you sound, or you don't look how I pictured you?
Yes.
You hear that all the time, right?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were taller. You sound like you're short. You know what I mean? Something like that. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
And you got the right attitude about that. Jim, as we start to close up here, I need to end this the way you would end this. And you always ask someone, or at least when I hear you, you always ask someone at the end of an interview, how can we pray for you? So, Jim Bernai, how can we pray for you?
I think what I'd like people to pray for me is that God will use me for His glory to encourage people. And when they listen, don't listen to me, listen to God's word, listen to God's praise music, and be encouraged. And that when they tune the station in, they say, great, I like that song, or I like what's going on there. It's for His glory. That's what I want. That's what I'm praying for.
That you almost get out of the way and let Him do it.
Right. That's exactly it. Mm-hmm.
Well, this has been fun. Thank you so much. We've been speaking with Jim Bernai, talking a little bit about radio history. You can hear him weekdays in the morning here on The Light, beginning at what time, Jim?
5 p.m., 5 to 9.
5 to 9 every morning, every weekday morning here on The Light, 95.9. Jim Bernai, thank you for all you do for our community.
God bless you for what you do, Susie.